This week in Jamaica Now, Jamaica and the United States of America signed Status of Forces Agreement. What does that mean?
To be able to see a 4.8 points increase in our mathematics performance, no matter how small it is, we must celebrate it.
Jamaica records major improvement in CSEC Mathematics pass rate. However, CXC flags rise in examination irregularities and absenteeism.
Candidates who commit an irregularity, have any of those misconducts, their grades are either cancelled or they are disqualified.
9 men sue government over detention during Cooper's Pen demolition, and NHT to provide modular homes for families displaced by Hurricane Melissa. I'm Karen Madden, and this is Jamaica Now. Jamaica and the United States have signed a Status of Forces Agreement establishing a framework for deeper military and security cooperation between the two countries. The agreement sets out the terms under which U.S. military personnel may be temporarily present in Jamaica for mutually agreed activities, including training exercises, joint operations, humanitarian assistance, and disaster response. The signing builds on decades of security cooperation between the Jamaica Defense Force and the U.S. military, including joint training, professional exchanges, and regional security initiatives. The agreement follows discussions between U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and Jamaica's National Security Minister Dr. Harris Chang during the America's Counter-Cartels Coalition Forum in Panama on August 12. The two governments say the agreement sends a strong message to criminal organizations involved in the trafficking of guns, drugs, and people, including narco-terrorists. Jamaica now joins more than 120 countries with similar agreements with the United States. Both governments say the agreement will provide a modern and predictable framework for cooperation in regional security, defense, and disaster response, while strengthening their commitment to peace and shared security interests. Jamaica's CSEC Mathematics pass rate has climbed to 48.7%, representing a 14.2 percentage point improvement over the past 3 years. Education Minister Senator Dr. Dana Morris-Dixon says the latest results show that targeted interventions are beginning to pay off, despite disruptions caused by Hurricane Melissa.
Congratulations to the teachers of Jamaica for doing an excellent job, but it doesn't make front page. Maybe we can help to make it front page today. Because look at the CSEC results. Jamaica is above the regional average. So we always like to compare ourselves, but we are doing better than the rest. We're not where we want to be. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of work to be done, but there is good work that is happening. Mathematics, which is our difficult area after a Category 5 hurricane, to be able to see a 4.8 points increase in our mathematics performance, no matter how small it is, we must celebrate it.
The pass rate rose from 34.5% in 2024 to 43.1% in 2025 and 48.7% in 2026 May-June exams. Morris-Dixon credited programs involving the University of the West Indies and UNICEF, along with mentorship and teacher training initiatives, for helping to improve student performance. She said the gains, while encouraging, are still not where Jamaica wants them to be. In the meantime, CSEC English A maintained a strong pass rate of 83.6%. In Cape, the overall pass rate was 91.7%. Cape Unit 2 recorded a 93.9% pass rate, with STEM subjects also performing strongly. All 14 listed STEM subjects recorded pass rates above 84%. The minister also highlighted the nearly 7,000 candidates who passed 5 or more subjects, including mathematics and English.
In fact, 18 of the 34 subjects that we do showed improvement over last year. 18 subjects. That is a big deal.
The Caribbean Examinations Council said more students across the region received passing grades in CSEC Mathematics in the May-June 2026 exams compared with last year, while English maintained a strong performance. Regionally, CSEC Mathematics recorded a 42% pass rate, up 4 percentage points from last year, while English maintained an 80% pass rate. Cape Caribbean Studies and Communication Studies recorded pass rates of 98% and 93% respectively. Meanwhile, the Caribbean Examinations Council is raising concerns about a sharp increase in examination irregularities and continued high absenteeism among candidates. CXC Director of Operations Dr. Nicole Manning says 128 irregularity cases were recorded across the Caribbean this year, up from 80 in 2025. The leading violations included the use of unauthorized devices, collusion, unauthorized materials, and for the first time, the misuse of artificial intelligence.
Irregularities mean that a candidate, for whatever reason, may have entered an exam and conducted themselves in an inappropriate manner. That can be disrupting, unruly behavior, the use of a cell phone, can be anything. And so this year we saw a whopping 128, moving from 80. And this is not something the Caribbean examinations like to see, because candidates who commit an irregularity, have any of those misconducts, their grades are either cancelled or they're disqualified. And we saw quite a bit of this year. Not only from an individual candidate, but candidates doing the same thing over and over. So they're entering different examinations and doing the same thing.
CXC also reported that more than 35,000 candidates across the region failed to turn up for this year's examinations. This included over 32,000 CSEC candidates and over 3,500 CAPE candidates. Manning said absenteeism remains a major concern as candidates who miss an examination component have little opportunity to earn a grade.
The absenteeism, where we have, while it is reducing, we had 3,534 candidates in the level at CAPE being absent. Now, what does this mean for candidates? A candidate who is absent has no opportunity to be graded, because they have missed a component and cannot be graded. So that candidate would have lost out on that opportunity. For CSEC, it's even more worrying. 32,403 candidates not turning up for exams is something that the education system across the region has to be concerned about. It is something that the Caribbean Examinations Council is concerned about, and we are working very hard to encourage our candidates to turn up. Parents, guardians, turn up. We are encouraging our educators to encourage these students to turn up. We have done many surveys, and the surveys tell us that sometimes candidates just feel that they're unprepared and decide not to turn up. This is not a reason to be absent. Just try. As we say, nothing beats a trial, but that's right.
Meanwhile, 359 candidates received compassionate consideration this year because of circumstances such as medical challenges or deaths in their families. CXC also activated its disaster recovery protocol to assist Jamaican students whose education was disrupted by Hurricane Melissa, with about half of the island's examination centers affected. Manning also raised concerns about the gender imbalance among candidates regionally. 9 men from Cooper's Pen, Trelawney, are suing the government, alleging that they were unlawfully detained by the police during last week's controversial demolition exercise in the community. The lawsuit, filed in the Supreme Court on Monday, seeks damages for alleged false imprisonment and assault, as well as aggravated and exemplary damages. The men claim that around 3 a.m. on August 11, police officers assigned to the Falmouth police station, armed with high-powered weapons and wearing masks, entered their homes without reasonable or probable cause. They allege that they were arrested and detained for approximately 13 hours without being told why they were being held. According to the lawsuit, the men were released without being charged or subjected to any identification parade, questioning, or other investigative procedure. The claimants allege that their detention prevented them from being present while their homes and personal belongings were demolished, leaving them unable to assist their families or save their possessions. Their attorneys contend that the police action was arbitrary, oppressive, and unconstitutional, and that the men suffered loss, damage, and expenses as a result. The Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, has rejected the government's latest wage offer, with unresolved issues surrounding uniform allowances and benefits for teachers pursuing further studies among the main concerns. Delegates voted against the offer on Tuesday during the JTA's annual conference in Trelawney. Of the 213 votes cast, 155 were against the proposal, while 54 delegates voted to accept it. 4 ballots were rejected. The government had offered the same basic 3-year wage package agreed with the Jamaica Confederation of Trade Unions, covering April 2025 to March 2028. It includes an $80,000 one-off payment for the 2025-2026 financial year, followed by 5% salary increases in each of the next 2 years. However, JTA President Lasagna Harrison says that the association is seeking improvements in the teachers' benefits, including the uniform allowance and recognition for educators who pursue additional studies at their own expense. The JTA says after formally notifying the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service of the vote, it will request an early date to resume negotiations. With the new school year set to begin in September, Harrison says any decision on possible industrial action would have to come from the association's delegates. Dr. Brian Langrin has been appointed the new governor of the Bank of Jamaica, succeeding Richard Biles, whose 7-year tenure ended on Tuesday. Langrin, who took office on Wednesday, says he's committed to preserving the BOJ's credibility and independence, keeping inflation low and stable, and modernizing Jamaica's financial system. He brings more than 2 decades of experience in central banking, financial stability, and multilateral development, including senior roles at the Bank of Jamaica and the IMF-administered Caribbean Regional Technical Assistance Center. Langrin takes over as the central bank faces elevated inflation risks, with inflation rising to 7.5% in July, above the BOJ's 4 to 6% target range.
This decision reflects the MPC's assessment that the recent rise in inflation is being driven primarily by temporary, external, and administrative factors, while domestic conditions remain broadly stable. Holding the policy rate steady at this time is therefore consistent with the bank's mandate, but it does not mean the bank is standing still.
Langrin has signaled that price stability will remain the bank's overriding priority, and says policymakers are prepared to adjust monetary policy if inflation risks intensify.
The bank is mindful that higher prices are not abstract figures for Jamaican households, particularly low-income families and fixed-wage earners. Food, transport, energy costs have a direct impact on the cost of living, while businesses face higher operating and input costs. Against this background, the MPC's decision is carefully calibrated to limit second-round effects and support the return of inflation to the target range.
International Monetary Fund Western Hemisphere Department Director Nigel Chalk has also welcomed Langrin's appointment, saying the IMF looks forward to working with him and the BOJ. Families displaced by Hurricane Melissa are set to receive modular homes as the National Housing Trust moves ahead with a $3.1 billion emergency contract for 2,500 units. NHD Deputy General Manager for Corporate Affairs, Dwayne Burbick, says 1,500 of the units are already on the island, with the remaining 1,000 expected to arrive by September. The foldable modular units will be supplied and delivered to the 5 parishes hardest hit by the hurricane. Berbick says the project remains within budget, with no variances to the contract so far. The NHT says installation is a separate multi-agency process and it cannot yet provide a total count of units handed over to displaced families. Independence Park Limited and the Government of Jamaica are now in receipt of the official certification from World Athletics confirming that the island's national stadium track is certified as a Class 1 facility. A copy of the certificate seen by the Gleaner indicates that the facility, which was resurfaced by track manufacturer Corton between February 26 and March 3 last year, is certified for 5 years from June 2026 to March 2031. The synthetic surface product on the certificate is listed as Recorton and Regupol, Germany. The certification means that records and qualifying performances achieved on the track will now be officially recognized. On June 30, Sports Minister Olivia Grange announced during her contribution to the 2026-2027 sectoral debate that the facility was certified by World Athletics. However, on August 11, opposition spokesman on sports, Wavell Hines, raised questions as to whether the track was actually certified after Jamaica was not included among the list of countries with World Athletics certified facilities published on August 7. Minister Grange, responding to TVJ Sports that evening, reasoned that the delay might have been caused by administrative issues on the part of World Athletics.
As I said in June in my sectoral debate, that the National Stadium track was certified as a Class 1. I will repeat, the black, green and gold track at the National Stadium is classified as a Class 1. Argument done.
And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on X and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on your notifications and subscribe today. I'm Karen Madden.